Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still playing out the short-term bullish divergence and is now officially breaking out above this key line of resistance, but is also getting closer towards this significant line of resistance that we need to pay attention to. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside Ethereum, which is now starting to confirm this new bullish signal on this Ethereum price chart. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment as well, alongside the price of XRP still repeating history in the short term. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the 4-day Bitcoin price chart, and right now the super trend indicator is still sitting in the red, so nothing's changed on this chart over the last 1 day. So getting straight into this weekly Bitcoin chart, and right now the weekly Bitcoin MACD, at least as of right now, is still looking more bearish than it is bullish. It has not flipped bullish again, but with that being said, we're potentially starting to decline in the amount of bearish momentum that we're actually seeing. And obviously, I've already been talking about this over the last couple of weeks, basically saying that potentially the worst is already behind us in terms of the maximum amount of bearish momentum within at least this bearish movement. And if we're taking a look at the last time we saw a similar signal to what we're seeing right now in this indicator on this time frame for the price of Bitcoin, it was roughly around August 2024, give or take. So really in between around July to September 2024, around that period in the market, we saw a very similar signal in this indicator to what we're seeing right now. And if we're taking a look at the price of Bitcoin during that period in the market, obviously by that point right there, we had already played out a couple of months worth of bearish price action, and most of the bearish price action had already played out. So we didn't necessarily go much lower below the low that we had already created by that point. And now obviously we did end up seeing a little bit more bearish price action later on, but not necessarily more bearish momentum compared to what we already saw over the last couple of months. And so for the most part, the price of Bitcoin basically just remained range bound for a little while, chopped around sideways before ultimately recovering a few months later. So once again, right now we are currently seeing a similar signal in this indicator to what we saw back then. But with that being said, taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, obviously, at least for now, we still have a massive bearish divergence to watch out for on the weekly time frame, with higher highs already confirmed in the price and lower highs confirmed in the weekly Bitcoin RSI. So once again, as I've been saying since almost the all-time high months ago now on the channel, I've been telling you, do not expect any significant bullish momentum anytime soon. And so while a lot of others out there were telling you that we're about to go to the moon and we're going to hit record new all-time highs extremely soon, obviously I've been one of the few out there telling you potentially expect bearish price action over the next few months as a likely scenario, and that's exactly what has now played out over the last few months. And now technically speaking, this bearish divergence on the weekly time frame is still currently active, which means at least for now we should not necessarily expect a significant amount of bullish momentum towards the upside, so price action like this for example. But of course we can see some short-term bullish moves here and there, just not necessarily massive momentum towards the upside on the larger timeframes. And with that being said, taking a look at the daily Bitcoin chart, obviously right now as I've recorded in this video, the price of Bitcoin is currently reclaiming this Fibonacci level on the price chart, which is sitting at just above 83,000, around 83.3k. So especially if we can confirm this candle close on the daily time frame above 83.3k, at least in the imminent short term, that would be a bit of a bullish signal to pay attention to, and that 83k level will likely become new support again. And as for the next resistance to watch out for, we have the second most important Fibonacci level of resistance, the 38.2% Fibonacci level, sitting at just underneath 88,000, very close to 88,000, acting as important resistance in the short term. And above 88,000, I'll be watching close to 92,000, around 91.5 to 92k, and above that, I'll be watching around 96,000 based on the golden pocket, the most important Fibonacci area on the price chart at around 96,000, acting as major resistance. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, at least for now, once again, we have a lot of resistance in between around 86,000 to 88,000. So definitely keep an eye on that 88k level, where a lot of people previously over the last few weeks have been selling a lot of Bitcoin, taking profits at that level. But if we can finally see a confirmed breakout back back above 88,000, then at least on this chart right here, the next major point of resistance would be sitting at roughly 96,000, at least based on the volume profile indicator here on the 3-day time frame. And as for support to watch out for, obviously the next significant area of support on this chart at least is sitting in between around 70,000 to 74,000, and there will likely be a lot of buyers down there if we actually make it there. And on top of these horizontal support and resistance levels that I'm currently watching for the price of Bitcoin, of course, we have this descending line of resistance where we've previously seen multiple rejections from over the last couple of months or so, since almost the all-time high roughly. And right now, this descending line of resistance is sitting at around 86,500. And so that is also a level to pay attention to. And obviously that falls in between this area of resistance, once again in between 86 to 88,000. So really for the bulls out there, the level to break is definitely 88,000 before we can finally start flipping a little bit more bullish again, expecting a relief beyond 90,000. But in the immediate short term, if we're taking a look at the 3-hour time frame, just over the last 1 day, we've now confirmed a breakout above this horizontal line of resistance, which was sitting at around 83.5k. And obviously, as I've said recently here on the channel, that was based on previous support flipping into new resistance, and we did see pretty much 2 perfect rejections from that 83.5k level. But while the price of Bitcoin was contacting that line of resistance, we were also now playing out a bullish divergence on the 3-hour time frame, as I've talked about recently here on the channel once again, telling us we're most likely going to see a slight bullish relief in the short term, or at the very least a bit of choppy sideways price action as the most common outcomes, the most likely outcomes from a bullish divergence. And so obviously over the last 1 to 2 days or so, this short-term bullish divergence has played out very nicely, and it could continue to play out maybe for the coming hours, maybe over the next day, give or take. But honestly, I don't necessarily expect this bullish divergence to play out much longer than maybe a day or two from now, because just keep in mind, this is only on the 3-hour time frame. This is not the daily or the weekly time frame. This is only looking at the short term, the smaller moves in the price of Bitcoin. And also the 3-hour Bitcoin RSI is starting to get closer towards overbought territories. And of course, if we hit overbought, that's basically the RSI telling us we're starting to run out of room towards the upside, at least in the imminent short term. And so that is still the situation. The bullish divergence is still active, but just don't necessarily expect it to play out over weeks and weeks. Once again, maybe just the next few hours or days as a likely scenario. And as for support and resistance to watch out for, we should find a bit of resistance pretty much where the current price is sitting at as of recording this video, at close to 85,000 based on previous resistance and previous support right here at that 85k level, give or take. But when it comes to other levels of resistance, obviously, as I mentioned throughout this video, we have these important areas of resistance to pay attention to. And as for support, I would now expect this previous line of resistance, which was also previous support, to once again become new support now that we've broken out above that level. And once again, that's sitting at around 83,500, and below that, the next short-term level of support is sitting at around 81.6k. And so those are the important levels on the price chart that I'm currently paying attention to, and those are my expectations for the price of Bitcoin in the shorter term, and of course the larger situation, the longer term. And if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I'm taking a lot of my crypto trades over on BTNX, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive trading bonuses that are only available using those links. And so for example, simply just by making your BTNX account using that link, you can get up to $23,000 in bonuses onto your account, or brand new Rolex, or a trip to Dubai, or Apple products, etc., simply just by trading crypto. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want Bitfinex as an exchange, there's also 2bit as another option out there, another exchange that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video as well. And by the way, if you use that link to 2bit, you can also claim some massive trading bonuses over here. And in case you're wondering, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange as well. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map and looking at the somewhat shorter term, we can see that we do have a small amount of liquidity at close to 86,000 and a small amount of liquidity at close to 81,000. But most of the liquidity, at least in the short term for the price of Bitcoin on this chart right here, is sitting at close to 89,000. And as I always say, usually the price of Bitcoin, not always, but usually the price of Bitcoin tends to move towards where there's a lot of liquidity. So just keep that in mind. Essentially, that 89K level is kind of acting as a magnet for the price of Bitcoin. It's kind of pulling the price of Bitcoin towards 89,000, considering a lot of liquidity is sitting at that level. But keep in mind, we cannot ignore other points of support and resistance where, of course, the price can also struggle at. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, obviously, at least for now, we are still forming significant bearish price structure on this weekly time frame. So over the last one day, nothing's really changed when it comes to the long term for Ethereum. Technically speaking, we're currently within a long-term bearish trend, despite seeing short-term bounces here and there along the way towards the downside. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day time frame, obviously just over the last one day, we technically confirmed a 3-day candle close below this Fibonacci level of support, sitting at around 1870 to 1880. But at least as of recording this video, the price of ETH is now attempting to reclaim that Fibonacci level of support with a potential breakout above that level. But technically speaking, that short-term breakout still needs to now be confirmed. And if we end up finding resistance around this area on the price chart and actually start rejecting from that level in the coming days, then in that case, the next significant point of support towards the downside is sitting at just above 1.5K, around 1520 to 1540 approximately. But with that being said, if we're taking a look at the daily Ethereum price chart, obviously, as I talked about in my last video, we are now potentially forming a bullish divergence on the daily time frame. And just over the last one day, we technically confirmed one candle close here in the green on the daily Ethereum price chart, but obviously it was only a very slight green candle close, which meant only a very slight bounce in the daily Ethereum RSI. But obviously, if we're looking at the current daily price candle for Ethereum, it's obviously a much larger green candle, as we can see, causing a much larger bounce in the daily Ethereum RSI, further cementing the higher low in place if we actually confirm this candle close at near anywhere where the current price is sitting at right now as of recording this video. So at roughly around 1.9K and especially above 1.9K, if that's where this candle actually closes, confirms on the daily time frame, then effectively that will officially confirm this bullish divergence. And in case you're new to all of this, what a bullish divergence means is that we're most likely going to see just a slight bullish relief or a bit of choppy sideways price action as the most likely outcomes, the most common outcomes from a bullish divergence. And considering this is on the daily time frame, it will likely play out over a period of weeks, usually around 2 weeks, give or take, sometimes only 1 week, sometimes around 3 to 4 weeks, but usually a couple of weeks, give or take, is what we end up seeing for a bullish divergence on the daily time frame. And so at least in the somewhat shorter term, once again, if this actually confirms right here, this is some good news potentially over the next couple of weeks during this larger bearish trend. Because remember, on this weekly time frame, each one of these candles is one entire week. So even if we see a couple of weeks worth of a slight bullish relief, it might only look something like that, for example, which here on the weekly time frame doesn't necessarily change the larger trend. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the price of Solana on the weekly time frame, and right now Solana is simply still trading in this area of support, sitting in between $120 to $130, and we are simply lacking momentum in the short term to either direction. So ultimately, we're looking extremely neutral when we're talking about the short-term situation for Solana, because basically the price of Solana is trying to play out the larger rising wedge pattern with a technical price target at around $90. But in the meantime, with significant support in between 120 to 130, obviously this means a lot of people are buying Solana around this area, which at least for now is preventing the price from going lower. So basically, we're at at a bit of a standstill in the short term, which is why we're seeing relatively flat price action, just basically hanging around this area of support. And so at least in the shorter term, as in talking about the next few days, I'll not be surprised if we simply continue similar price action here for now in the price of Solana. And honestly, there's nothing much else to add here for Solana. So with that being said, getting straight into the price of XRP on the 3-day time frame. And right now, XRP is still technically playing out this larger bearish divergence, as I've said for months now on the channel, since much higher prices. But if we're zooming into the shorter term, taking a look at the 8-hour XRP chart, obviously, as I mentioned just recently here on the channel, we now have a new bullish divergence, which I talked about in my last video once again on the 8-hour time frame, with lower lows confirmed in the price in the candle closes and higher lows now confirmed in the 8-hour XRP RSI. And so as always, this bullish divergence means we're most likely going to see just a slight bullish relief or perhaps a bit of choppy sideways price action in the next few days, considering it's on the 8-hour time frame. But there's also a good chance that in the coming days, the price of XRP could simply remain range bound within this area of support and this area of resistance, based on previous support becoming new resistance. So in case you're new to the channel, expect a lot of support in between $1.95 to $2.05 and a decent amount of resistance in between around $2.24 to $2.30. And if we can actually see a confirmed breakout above $2.30, in that situation, the next resistance to watch out for is sitting at around $2.48 and also at around $2.56. But at least in the short term for the next few days, this is what I expect, at least for now, with the bullish divergence now playing out, at least in the short term once again. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, right now Chainlink is almost perfectly bouncing from this Fibonacci level of support, sitting at around $12.80 give or take. And right now the price of Chainlink has actually bounced from very close to $12.90, around $13. So basically in the high $12 range, just around $13 give or take, and just underneath $13. At least for now, we have a lot of support around there. But if we were to see a confirmed break towards the downside, with daily candle closes actually confirming below around $12.80 to $12.70, then in that situation, we would likely see a continued move down towards this level of support, sitting at around $10 per Chainlink, obviously only if we first confirm a break below around $12.70 to $12.80. But for now, we're finding a lot of support around that area. And as for resistance, we still have a lot of resistance in between around $14.90 to $15.50. And as I've said many times recently here on the channel, I'll not be surprised if the price of Chainlink, at least in the somewhat short to mid-term here, stays within this sideways price range in between this level of support and this level of resistance, considering this support is very strong, at least for now, and this resistance is also very strong, at least for now, and we're kind of lacking momentum to either direction. So we're most likely going to bounce around within this area for the time being. And as always, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can profit from all of this price action, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, you can profit from all of that price action by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.